With deep sadness and sorrow, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi profoundly mourned the passing of head of the Catholic Church. President al-Sisi said that his departure leaves behind an extraordinary legacy of compassion and humanity that will forever remain etched in the conscience of mankind. He said that His Holiness Pope Francis was an exceptional global figure, dedicated his life to the service of the values of peace and justice, and worked tirelessly to promote tolerance and understanding among the religions and build bridges of dialogue among the peoples of the world. He was a supporter of the Palestinian cause, championing the legitimate rights and urging for an end to the conflicts and the establishment of a just and lasting peace. Meanwhile, Grand Imam of Al-Azhar mourned Pope Francis, describing him as a symbol of humanity. Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, Dr. Al-Tayyib, had extended his heartfelt condolences and sincere sympathy to the members of the Catholic Church around the world after the death of Pope Francis on Monday. Calling him a distinguished symbol of humanity, Dr. Al-Tayyib said that the Pope spared no effort in advancing the mission of compassion. During his papacy, the relationship between Al-Azhar and the Vatican witnessed significant development. The Grand Imam also acknowledged Pope Francis's dedication to strengthening the ties with Al-Azhar and the Islamic world through the visits to many Islamic and Arab countries, and through his fair and humane stances, especially his condemnation of the aggression on Gaza and his firm stand against the Islamophobia. The Catholic Church in Egypt expressed on Monday the condolences on the death of Pope Francis, who died earlier on Sunday after he delivered his Easter Sunday address. In a statement, the Church said that Pope Francis was a wise religious leader and the consistent defender of the high values of humanity and justice. The Church also described Francis as a major spiritual figure and a tireless champion of the poor. Francis, whose real name was George Bergoglio, was leader of the Catholic Church since March of 2013. Pope Francis, an energetic reformer who inspired the widespread devotion from the Catholics but thrilled the traditionalists, died on Monday aged 88. Just a day after greeting the delighted worshippers after the Easter Mass. World leaders paid tribute to his moral and spiritual leadership, and countries began the preparations to mark his death. Here is the story.
Pope Francis, an energetic reformer who inspired widespread devotion from Catholics but traditionalists, died on Monday, aged 88, just a day after greeting delighted worshippers after Easter Mass. The death of the Argentine pontiff, leader of the Catholic Church since March 2013, came less than a month after having been released from the hospital following a 38-day battle with double pneumonia. Some visitors to St. Peter's Square, where a frail-looking Francis was cheered by Easter Sunday worshippers during an unscheduled appearance just a day earlier, were left in tears at the news. His death sets in motion centuries-old traditions that will culminate in the gathering of conclave of cardinals to choose a successor. In the next 4 to 6 days, the Vatican's cardinals will decide on the Pope's funeral date, at which point his coffin will be transferred to St. Peter's Basilica. In the meantime, the day-to-day running of tiny Vatican city-state will be handled by the senior cardinal, currently Dublin-born Cardinal Farrell. Francis' body will be laid in its coffin in the chapel at the St. Martha residence, where he lived at 8 p.m., the Vatican said, while the Rosary prayer will be held in the middle of the day. World leaders pay tribute to his moral and spiritual leadership, and countries began preparations to mark his death. Britain's King Charles, who met Francis during a state visit earlier this month, said the Pope had served with such devotion. Italy's Prime Minister said a great man has left us in a statement, while Argentina's President pointed to his compatriot goodness and wisdom despite their differences. European Commissioner President Ursula von der Leyen said Francis had inspired millions with his humility and love so pure for the less fortunate. Ukrainian President Zelensky said he was grieving, and Russian President Vladimir Putin praised the Pope's promotion of dialogue between the Orthodox and Catholic churches. Italy's Serie A Football League called off all the day's matches, and the country's Olympic Committee called for all sporting events due to take place there on Monday to be postponed. Spain announced 3 days of mourning while the bells at the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris rang out 88 times, and the city said the lights would be turned off at the Eiffel Tower on Monday evening.
Foreign Minister Badr Abdulati held a meeting with Saudi Arabia's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Prince Faisal ibn Farhan, at the ministry's headquarters in Riyadh. The Prince and Abdulati reviewed the state of relations between their nations and discussed ways in which cooperation might strengthen in various fields, along with the other issues of mutual interest. They then co-chaired a high-level meeting between the representatives of their countries that focused on the enhancement of the mechanisms of cooperation, deeper coordination on responses to regional and international issues, and how best to serve the shared interests. The talks also addressed the key developments in the region, foremost among them the latest situation in the Gaza Strip and the efforts to support the regional stability. The Egyptian delegation included Ihab Abu Sriya, the country's ambassador to the kingdom, and Ihab Fahmi, the Assistant Minister of Foreign Affairs. On the occasion of celebrating the Spring Festival of Shem-Nisim, First Lady Mrs. Intisar As-Sisi extended the heartfelt greetings on her social media to the Egyptian people, as she said that this festival embraces the joy spring brings and embodies the depth of the Egyptian ancient civilization. This occasion is deeply rooted in the Egyptian conscience and represents the authentic identity and the spirit of the Egyptian people. Egypt on Monday issued a strong condemnation of calls by the Israeli settler groups to bomb Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in occupied East Jerusalem, denouncing the incitement as a dangerous provocation to the Muslims worldwide. In a statement, the Egyptian Foreign Ministry rejected the extremist and the inflammatory rhetoric following the circulation of a widely shared artificial intelligence-generated video on the Israeli social media platforms. The video simulates the destruction of parts of Al-Aqsa Mosque and the construction of a Jewish temple in its place under the title of Next Year in Jerusalem. Cairo described the campaign as a blatant provocation to the feelings of Muslims around the globe and called for an immediate halt to the violations in the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, also known as Al-Haram Al-Sharif. The compound with the Golden Dome, also known as the Dome of the Rock, is considered the third holiest site in Islam after Mecca and Medina. The Egyptian statement also warned against any harm to the Islamic and the Christian holy sites in Jerusalem and called on the international community to act swiftly to prevent further escalation. Meanwhile, in Gaza,